Hi everyone. Once again, I wanna welcome everyone back to another movie review and of course new video. And today I'm going to review Beverly Hills Cop 2, the sequel to 1984 classic Beverly Hills Cop. And of course, Axel Foley's back where he doesn't belong, and back where he doesn't belong. The heat is back on, and of course, I do have the DVD. Beverly Hills Cop 2. Directed by Tony Scott, and of course, the story was written by Eddie Murphy. And this is actually my favorite sequel, my favorite Eddie Murphy film, my favorite Tony Scott film, my favorite sequel, my personal favorite action film. Yes, I put Beverly Hills Cop 2 in my top 20 favorite action films of all time. Love this movie, incredible to death. This is actually, those are my favorite action movies. And yes, Beverly Hills Cop 2 is actually my favorite Eddie Murphy film. So now you know which is my favorite Eddie Murphy film. And I'm probably the only one of the people that choose this movie as favorite Eddie Murphy film. I'm stand up alone in this. I'm alone in this. But I love this movie to death. Even as a kid, when I saw this sequel, it was always my favorite. And like I said, I'm not sure. I think that the Last Boy Scout, Last Boy Scout was actually my favorite Tony Scott film. But I think I replaced it now with the Beverly Hills Cop 2 because I enjoyed this movie. I had such a fun. I think it's much better, than Last Boy Scout in my opinion. Even Last Boy Scout has much better rating score. This movie holds the score on IMDb 6.5, but when I saw the reviews, people does not talk about the sequel that much. The first Beverly Hills Cop is actually a huge hit. People always talk about Eddie Murphy's best film. The rating places, definitely people talk more about the film because it has 7.5 on IMDb. And of course, coming to America, it has better rating score than Beverly Hills Cop 2, Sadly, another 48 hours does not have that better rating score on IMDb. I think it holds 5.9 or 5.8. But yeah, my of the two is the first one. 48 hours actually the favorite of the two, but it's my second favorite Eddie Murphy film. This is actually my favorite Eddie Murphy film. I love this movie very much. Love this movie to death. I will continue saying that I love this movie to death. And buckle up, this is gonna be a long hour movie review. Probably the only one that's gonna do that long review. I know no one's gonna watch it. If they're gonna watch it, it's gonna give me dislike. But you know what? I don't care anymore. Cause the first movie is a classic. Do you think this movie is actually better than the first movie? No, I don't think it's better, but I think it's a classic. I think it's more action-packed because the first movie, like I said, is more a comedy. But this movie is more action-packed. It's more than comedy, it's an action-packed. It's actually about a heist. And before I continue talking about the film and why I love this film, which I'll also explain why I love this film, why it's my favorite Beverly Hills Cop film. And I want to say that I want to apologize to everyone because in my first review, if you saw, I said that John Ashton's character is named Jack Taggart, Sergeant Jack Taggart. But that was a mistake. I was mistaking the names. I don't know how I was mistaking the names. I did not pay attention. His name was actually Sergeant John Taggart, not Jack John. So I kind of confused his name. So I apologize. I made a mistake. I saw no one so far watch my video because I saw the views. It got only 6 views, the first one, but that's okay. I'm glad that no one watched it. But if I did, if anyone sees and says his name was actually John, not Jack, I apologize. It was actually John Taggart, just like the actor's name, John Ashton. So it was John Taggart. So I apologize. No, so now since this is out of chest, Beverly Hills Cop 2 is actually the sequel that just like the first one, it was actually a huge hit that time in 1987. And Ronnie Cox did return from the first film. I still try to find out as Lieutenant Bogomil how he wasn't that much in the film. Maybe because because the screenwriters demanded, or maybe because the actor was busy, because that time he was also filming RoboCop, because after this movie was released he did RoboCop, so I guess he didn't had that much time, or was probably some kind of schedule conflict, because he was hired to do RoboCop that time. Did not check when RoboCop was actually, what year was filmed, but this was actually filmed in 20 November till it was actually filmed. It was actually ended in March 1987. And because when I check his filmography, it looked like that Ronnie Cox had has less work to do in this film. Because in the first movie he was actually through whole film. In this movie he wasn't. He wasn't that much in the film, except he was like for at least, I think, was less than 10 minutes he was in the film, and then he was shooting. We don't see him through whole film. So so I guess he wasn't that much being a star building. But writing was by Larry Ferguson and Warren Skeran, and Don Simpson. He had such a power that time that he I'm just gonna say he grabbed Larry Ferguson, took him, bring him right to the studio, and he demanded that he wrote a screenplay for Beverly Hills Cop 2 while he was writing screenplay for Presidio, which I never saw that film, but he had to wrote the screenplay for this movie. And so Larry Ferguson, Warren Skeran did this time wrote the screenplay. They actually replaced Danilo Bach and Daniel Petrie Jr. for this action vehicle. So they actually replaced him. And the story was written by Eddie Murphy. And of course Robert D. Wax, who also wrote the story, So directed was by Tony Scott. They actually hired Tony Scott because he was so successful on Top Gun, so they hired him for doing this movie. And it's really hard, it's hard to rank them, because I love Last Boy Scout and I love this movie, Beverly Hills Cop 2. Proud to say Beverly Hills Cop 2 replaced The Last Boy Scout. I love both the films, but I love this movie. Actually, I love this movie more. And it's one of my personal favorite action movies. It's rated there, and those are actually my action films. And I know everyone goes for the first one, hate this film. Some people even said that it's a repeat of the first film, which I don't follow. What's a repeat of the first film? Some people even say it was a necessary sequel, or Eddie Murphy goes and shouts everyone. But a lot of points people did not even pay attention. I don't know what kind of movie they watched. But since I saw this film back in 1998, yes, the first film I saw back in 1994, yes, it was that time. I did not know that there are two sequels out there. I did not know there was actually the second sequel. I did not know about the third sequel, because that time we did not have any internet or cell phones like nowadays. We did not have that time. So no, I did not know. And I saw the VHS tape, Beverly Hills Cop 3, and I was disappointed that time as a kid. I paid for that movie. But honestly, I would say Beverly Hills Cop 3 did not disappoint me that much, just like Street Fighter did from Van Damme, which I don't have that film, so I did not review that film. But that film was not just only disappointment. I felt ashamed because in video store, the guys were charging me much more money than in other video store I will got that film. And yes, when I watched the film, I was very disappointed because I spent my mom's money on that piece of garbage trash film. Van Damme, you ruined it, So that movie sucked. I hated it. And I would say that Beverly Hills Cop 3 is actually better than fucking Street Fighter, in my opinion. I just remember, because I mentioned those two movies because I remember what happened in 1997. This movie I saw in 1998. I'm pretty sure I saw this movie in 1998 for the first time, but I had to find a new channel. And I think this movie is also underrated. I think it's an underrated sequel. And look how many sequels Eddie Murphy did, that were not successful. So let's start with another 48 hours. People hated it. I love the film. If I'll do my top 5, not top 10, because top 10 will be hardly to do for Eddie Murphy. But if I do top 5, I'll definitely say Beverly Hills Cop 2, 48 hours. The first Beverly Hills Cop, I'll say The Golden Child, and of course another 48 hours on number 5. But if I go for top 10, it will be kind of hardly, because Eddie Murphy did not do that much successful movies. I think number 6. I probably will put number 6. Probably Trading Places. Probably I'll put Trading Places if I have to. I Spy. I like that film. I have not seen it for a while. I think I would also put Showtime with Robert De Niro in that film. What else Murphy did at that time? I don't remember right now any of the films. By the way, no, I don't care about Boomerang or that Gentleman movie. Don't care about those comedies he did. Kind of would be hard to do to single top 10 Eddie Murphy films. Really hardly, in my opinion. But Beverly Hills Cop 2 is actually my favorite. And that time when I saw this film, I was really surprised, And so that's actually my history. I think it was back in 1998, I saw this movie for the first time on TV. I did not saw VHS tape. I think that on VHS tape, they were only the first and the third one. This movie was like, just like Die Hard Avengers, this movie was like disappeared from the TV and everywhere. But I do have the DVD. I do wish, my biggest wish is that this movie could got a special edition. The first movie, I think even the first movie got 4K. I think first movie gets so treated well, but this movie doesn't deserve the same treat, This movie gets crap on it, gets shit on it. This movie doesn't even get a special edition. I think there's in the UK has the Blu-ray separately. Yes, you do got all 3 films together in one box. I don't want a box set. I want this movie separately. Just like I have the first one. I want the sequel separately. I don't need the third movie. Don't even have the third movie. I don't even care about the third movie. I want this movie separately. I wish that US could actually done a free region and they put this movie single. We don't need the triple in it. I want a single, I want this cover. I want this kind of cover, the original cover, just like the DVD has. I want the original cover. I'll try someday to get from the UK the Blu-ray separately, because it would be really cool to have this film on Blu-ray. But I'm just fine with DVD. I also love this cover. I will still continue showing you this cover because this is my movie, But yeah, I do really wish that this movie would be separately on Blu-ray, not triple featurette. We don't need the triple movies together. I want single. I want single. That's what I want. Second, this movie is actually, in my opinion, it's not a repeat of the first movie. It's actually a stand-alone movie. It does continue where the first movie left off, but does not repeat the first movie. It does not copy the first movie. Predators copy the first movie. This movie does not copy the first movie. And look how many sequels so far Eddie Murphy did that were not successful. So I already said another 48 hours is a gun film, but it wasn't that much successful. Then he did, I'll just say, Coming Second to America, the sequel to Coming to America. Look what happened. People shit on it. I did not see the movie, but I'm pretty sure it's a bad. So he did that movie, The Naughty Professor 2. Sucked. I hated that movie, The Naughty Professor 2. Hated that sequel. And I'm one of the many people that liked The Nutty Professor. As a kid, I liked it. I have not seen since, but I liked that film. A lot of people shit on it. I saw reviews who shit on The Nutty Professor. I liked that comedy. I liked Bowfinger. Eddie Murphy did. I saw VHS. I liked Bowfinger. He did. You know. He did Dr. Little 2. Sucked. Yeah, it sucked. Dr. Dolittle 2 sucked. I'm one of the people that also like Dr. Dolittle. People shit on it. I saw reviews. They all shit on it. You know. So what sequels else that he did? You know. I think he did Pluto Nash. I don't remember. I saw that film. I Spy. I really liked. I really enjoyed it. But look, he did Dr. Dolittle 2. It sucked. The Nutty Professor 2 sucked. He did this movie Coming to America sequel and it sucked. Every sequel he did sucked. Beverly Hills Cop 3 sucked. In my opinion, sucked. And this is actually the only sequel Eddie Murphy did. The only sequel that is actually not just good, but one of the greatest sequels, my favorite sequels. And I'll say it's a good action film. But actually, I'll say it's better than the first film, my opinion. I know people will disagree with me. Oh, how you say it's better than the first movie? It's not better than the first movie. Of course it's not better than the first movie. Just for me, it's decent enough that it's actually more than decent. It's so good. It's so bad that it's so good, you know. Oh, it's a cheesy. No, it's so good. It's so bad it's so good because I enjoyed it. You know, because first off, there's no CGI in this movie, no shaky cam, real dangerous stunts. It was all done dangerous and all stunts are done, you know. So yeah, so the movie talks about a group of serial robberies, you know. This movie is about heist. A group of serial robbers called by alphabet bandits that are actually robbing a jewelry store, and now two detectives in Beverly Hills, Detective John Taggart and Detective Billy Roseworth, they actually with his superior officer, Lieutenant Andrew Bogomil, played by Ronnie Cox, they're actually investigating those robberies. And during the process, when actually Lieutenant Bogomil came too close to find the mastermind behind those robberies, you know, and because he gets fired by his new chief, Chief Lutz, you know. Your name is Lutz, Chief Lutz. I love that, you know. He's been actually fired, suspended by Chief Lutz, and Andrew says, "God damn it, Harold, I'm gonna fight you." And he says, "What grounds?" Because you don't have your names, you know. Because Billy called an FBI agent to try to decipher this code that Alphabet Bandit let it, you know. And yeah, and Chief Lutz goes and suspends Ronnie Cox's character, Lieutenant Bogomil. So Lieutenant Bogomil, he goes, you know, on his own, and he gets gunshot by Bridget Nielsen. She plays Carla Fry, and she's actually a girlfriend and associate of Maxwell Dead. Maxwell Dead is a mastermind played by Jürgen Prochnow. He's a mastermind behind those robberies. And yeah, so now in the robberies, Andrew Bogomil gets too close, and he gets in a trap. He's a setup, you know, and he gets shot by one of the men with the through the car window. And of course, Carla Fry, played by Bridget Nielsen, she also shoots him. She goes and shoots him, you know, and he falls down. He's twice shot. We see blood, you know. He's shot, and I was pissed because she did that, you know. I kinda cursed her out because she did that, but I know it's just a movie, so I love the movie. So meantime, Detective Foolish, he's now undercover in this credit card fraud, you know, and he's undercover with a car, with a suit, you know. He looks like a businessman. He's undercover. He tries to nail those two guys. One of them is also Robert Pastorelli. He's actually a credit card counterfeiter, and he tries to arrest him, and he goes undercover. And I'm glad that Frank Pisse also returns, from the first movie, the cigarette buyer. And then Axel Foley, and of course Gilbert R. Hill, which I did not mention in the first movie because I forgot his name, plays Inspector Todd, and he's now pissed on Foley because he spent so much money, $200 for the suit, I think $50 for the tie. We're gonna do some arrests, and he gets pissed at him. And he drives like Ferrari, and he claims that's a $5,000 expensive car. And I also love the song Shakedown, when Axel's driving with a fast Ferrari car. I love Shakedown. I love how they actually filmed. This movie was actually, I don't think they filmed in Detroit. They actually filmed really in Los Angeles, California. They're actually really beautiful. I mean, Tony Scott is a talented director. Rest in peace, Tony Scott. He passed away 2012. He's a talented director. He beautiful directed this movie. He really beautiful directed this movie. And and also when Axel Foley finds out his best friend, we see they from the first movie they now became really good friends. And they became really good friends. And after this, while in the stakeout, when he's waiting for the criminals, Axel sees through the he actually sees through the TV. He actually sees through the TV that he actually sees through the TV that his friend Bogomil was shot. And just before that, Andrew called him. He canceled the fishing trip, and now we see that they actually became from the first movie a really good friends. And when Andrew Bogomil gets shot, Axel Foley did not even hesitate, to get back to help his friend. So he dropped the credit card, the credit card case. And he also goes and spits that guy, he's a cop, I'm working with you, but he's a cop, he's my cousin, Frank Pierce, you're the guy who says we're in Buffalo, it's you, man. And I was like laughing, I love that scene, the dialogue. And Axel now he goes and asks his friend Jeffrey Friedman. He asked him if he could drive the car for him, while Axel goes, to his chief and asks him for $1,000 because he needs. So he hustles his boss for $1,000 and he goes deep undercover. Instead, he flies with that money to Beverly Hills and he checks. He also goes and checks his friend. He goes checks his friend and he's in surgery. And we also see that Andrew Bogomil has a daughter, Jen, played by Alice Adair. She played Jen Bogomil. She was a honest, daughter. And he goes. So Axel now he goes and decides that he's gonna stick around. He's gonna help because he finds out that Alpha Beta Bandit set him up. So he decides to help, and he goes, to the construction worker, construction site. The construction worker actually working on that house. When the owners are actually in Hawaii while they're actually working the house. And once again, he's a crack wising, just like he was in the first movie. And this time he says that he's actually an inspector for building. And just like he was in the first movie, just this time he's building inspector, and he goes and convinces that the supervisor that they screwed up. The said, "What should you mean? What meeting? Well, they screwed up. This is wrong. This is going to be there and there." I was laughing my ass off. Oh my god. He actually went and he hustled them for the house. So that he did not spend that much money for the hotel, just like he did in the first movie. This time he went and hustled them. And yes, I read that someone, some negative comment wrote that it was unnecessary sequel, and someone said, "Oh, Eddie Murphy goes and shouts everyone." Well, actually, he wasn't. He was hustled them for a good cause. He hustled them, but he wasn't actually. He wasn't shouting and yelling on them. He hustled them. Oh my God! But yeah, he actually whistled into the house, which is awesome. In my opinion, it was funny. And he goes now into the police station, and he looks the shells and finds a 44 automatic. He says that's a 44 shell. They don't make him. And John Taggart says, I know this this owner in the club in this club, in this shooting club. So they go Russ Fielding, and that was the actor which I forgot. He was in Die Hard 2, Janitor Marvin, and he was also in The Hills Have Eyes remake 2006. But I completely forgot the character, the actor's name. Well, it doesn't matter. So they go to the Russ Fielding, and when Chief Lutz shows up and tells them that the Taggart and Roosevelt should go to the traffic traffic report. Immediately he asks, "Who the hell are you?" My name is Johnny Wishbone. I'm from Ukraine, and I'm a sidekick for Help This. And then he goes, "Your name is Lutz, Chief Lutz, and your name's and the guy says, "Bigler, only 2 seconds." So oh my God, he has Chief Lutz. Oh my God. And and he goes out, when he goes out, and Taggart says, when I saw Axel, I just feel bad, and says, Axel, we had to find we had to solve the case, and he says, look, 2 years ago, my job was on line. The man stick his neck. I'm not gonna let him. Just like that. In the hospital line for fighting for his life. No, he did not say that, but I say that. But I actually improvised too. And he says, even your boys are not loyal. And I love when Taggart says, don't give me that. Me and Andy started with the academy. So all three, they decide to work together. And they go to the club, in the shooting club, and that's a pure badass, in which I love when Axel grabs the Veteman how you call it, those pills, those actually the healthy pills from Billy Roseworth. He grabs him, and he goes in this club hotel, and he asks, "Excuse me, what is this?" It says 73. He uses water, puts like his sweat, and says that I know, it is 37. I know, the guy says, and I love when he goes to the receptionist. He goes to those receptionists. I wrote her down somewhere. The actress who, Valerie Wildman, she played gun club receptionist, So he goes to the gun club receptionist. I love Valerie Wildman. He puts like, she says, excuse me, and says, this is like plutonium, the Rasputin order it, the plutonium. Oh my God. Well, and shipment is actually right. There's no this shipment. Well, don't call it, don't sneeze, it's gonna blow, just gonna blow. He ordered it. So he tries to leave it, she says, wait. Why don't you take us upstairs? And says, look, I have 2 daughters, Nick, what's gonna do them? My friend Putzi was just blown that way. And she goes, like, what do you want from me? And she gives him like $20, and he goes like that, and he almost sneezes. Oh my God, she says thank you, and so he goes down there, and he shows the Vetemines those jacks, those healthy I can't pronounce the name, that healthy pills from Billy in the trash. He goes to the club and shows the Russ Fielding. He hustled that woman, which is awesome. He hustled. But he also, if you think that he actually broke a crime, he actually, when Billy asks him, where's actually my pills, and he gives him, here, buy new ones. He said, what, he sold them? he actually gave the money to him, those $20 he gave to Billy, so that's decent, so that's awesome he did, I love that. And yeah, he goes to that building, talks to her, and he sees Bridget Nielsen. He says, my name's Richard James, and she's like 6 foot tall, somewhere there, and she says, and he says, ooh, that's a big bitch, And when they found that he's actually questioned them, because Rasputin designed himself those shells. And Eddie Murphy, Axel Foley grabs the gun, and when there's a shootout, he goes bang, bang, bang. Harold Faltermeyer, and he's like a badass in the shooting scene. And he kills everyone. He's a badass. When they actually do shoot those holograms, he's a badass in that. And he tells him the road, so that he's gonna send him application to be a membership for the Shooters Gun Club, And of course, Axel Dent calls Charles Kane. Dean Stockwell is in this movie from Quantum Leap. And he says, no, never seen him, and he tells him he's gonna kill him, so he sends a hitman, and he also gives those matches to those two. And when Axel tells to Roswell Taggart where to meet them, by his house, they go to his house. It is like in the pool, and I love it. Taggart says, Axel stole his house, and Axel says, how did they stole the house? He stole the house. No, it's my uncle's house. And he says, Axel is still a police officer. We're gonna get him. We're all gonna get this shit. And he falls in the water. I was laughing. Billy was jumping and laughing, and we all said, he said, Axel, I told you it's a slip. I was laughing my ass off. It was such a pure badass. They don't make movies like this anymore. I miss movies like this anymore. This is actually the last good Beverly Hills Cop, So he actually changed clothes. They go to this club, and that striptease club it's actually demolished. I read it. They demolished the striptease club. It's written on trivia. Filming location, so it's really bad. I wrote the film location in striptease club because it's my favorite. And yes, it's actually when they showed up, there's actually a song from George Michael, I Wanna Sex. I love that song, but it was actually Acapulco, 385 North LA Cinega Boulevard, Hollywood, Los Angeles, California. That was actually a strip club, but now it's actually demolished. So that was there, So yeah, I love when they go to striptease club, and like this guy says that they have to pay. They already both go, and I love when Axel hassles them, and he says, he goes and says. Axel goes and hassles them, he says, that's Gerald Ford. Oh, that's not Gerald Ford, doesn't look like Gerald Ford. Oh, how do you know? He will see Gerald Ford without makeup, that's Gerald Ford, So the guy buy it, he was ass cracking, and he completely hassled him once again, but like a badass he was. So they go to the club, and what I love this movie than the first one. The first movie he drinks beer, in this movie he drinks Coke. $7 for a Coke. What the fuck? That's kind of rip-off in my opinion. $7 for a Coke, but he drinks Coke. Eddie Murphy is the best shape of his life. He's thin, he's skinny, he runs like a badass. He doesn't drink beer, he drinks Coke, so I love that in this movie. Then in the first one, I love him more in this movie. So they actually see Nick Tompolis, yeah, Nikos Tompolis, he's the owner of the club, Paul Gulifoyle from CSI was actually in this movie, and he was like blonde and so beautiful at the time, and young, because in CSI kind of got bald and old like me, but Paul Gulifoyle was Nikos Tompolis, he was working with Axel Dent. He was actually buying the guns from him, and yeah. and of course so they so in the club, when they go out to the club, and like that waiter shows up and says, "That's actually your house, Mr. Press Jerful." He says, "What? My name is John Taggart." And they're all like clapping. I was like clapping too when they both stand up, and in front of the club, two gunmen fires on the guys, and all three use the guys and shoot. They like shooting on, they destroy the car. The car flips over, and they go in it, but found no one, and Eddie Murphy still runs like a badass, shoots it. There's a stuntman who jumps. That was dangerous stunt, but yeah, stuntman jumps, in the car, and Axel goes far. They like destroy the car, but no one does. And the time Inspector Chief Lutz shows up, says, it's not say, no one heard about Johnny Visual, so who you are? He gives him the badge, says, "That's a Detroit badge. What the hell are you doing here?" And says, "I'm in this special unit, somewhere." And says, "You have to ask my Inspector Todd, my boss. Call him in at 9 till 6, right in the 9 in the morning." And he says, "Yeah," and he goes, "What the hell are you guys doing here?" And Taggart says, "Well, technically this is actually the traffic, Technically, Taggart, you're a goddamn idiot. Get the hell out of here." I love that, Alan, the actor who played, I think was Alan Garfield, passed away. I think he passed away last year, so rest in peace. He played Chief Lutz, and I love him as Chief Lutz. He was so mean and evil, but I love Chief Lutz, He was so funny. And they go. So now they go to Billy's apartment, and what this movie does during the production of this film, the wife of Sylvester Stallone, Bridget Nielsen, she actually had an affair with director Tony Scott. And this movie does nothing but respect to Sylvester Stallone, because they actually did, they show Rambo First World Part 2 poster. They also showed Cobra, when in Billy's apartment, when Axel goes to call, he goes and call his friend Jeffrey, and he turns around, we sees in Billy's room, we see a poster of Cobra, and Bridget Nielsen, she did play it in Cobra, she did play it in it. So we see the poster of Cobra, and we also see like all those guns, that he wears, like Automag 44. One of the robbers in the open scene also uses Automag 44. It was used in Sudden Impact and was used in Death Wish 3, and it was used in Natural Born Killers too. But yeah, it was Automag 44 that was actually holding. Colt Python was also holding. And this gun that Axel Foley is holding, this gun was also holding. I wrote down somewhere. Browning high power. It was Browning high power pistol. Browning high power pistol, almost just revolver. It was that was actually Billy's house. We also see that Billy in the apartment. We also see all the flowers, and we also see the enforcer, Dirty Harry film. So Billy was actually a fan of Dirty Harry, and he was also a fan of Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Cobra. He was a huge fan. And yes, I did review all those films that we see. Also the enforcer. So yeah, Billy Rosewood was actually a fan of those movies, and I love when they actually, I love when they found a fingerprint. They go in the police station and finds it's actually Charles Kane, but Axel Foley says that he's not our man. He's actually not that man. He's not the killer type. He's not our man. Which I love that. Dean Stockwell. They also showed the respect to Dean Stockwell this deserves, because he was in Quantum Leap, so that was another awesome scene. So actually they go and they break into the club, in the shooting club. They go and break into in the gun club. They go and break into the gun club. And there was also another scene which they actually went through the lasers. I saw the deleted scene, but they actually delayed it. They go to the gun club. They found, they actually found, I think, no, they go to the gun club, and they actually found where another heist, actually the letter E is gonna stand it, and it's actually going to be in the city deposit. Yeah, now actually C and D is actually be the city deposit, and they actually try to stop the robbery. They go to city deposit, and it's already too late because the robbery already started, and they try to foil the robbery, but the robbers that escape, we have a car chase scenes, and by the end, of course, by the end they go to the Hugh Hefner's Playboy mansion. They actually found Maxwell Dent, and Carla Fry, and of course Nick Tomopoulos. They found them there, and of course Hugh chose them out, and they found through the and of course Axel steals the guy's wallet. Maxwell Dent's wallet goes. They go visit. They actually go and they go visit his accountant, Sidney Bernstein. He goes, he hustles Sidney Bernstein for $200, and he also looks for the computer so he's gonna raise his 25 parking tickets. He goes and to check and finds there's actually I think was Imperial Fields, racetracks. There's gonna be a next robbery, so they hurry to the racetrack, but they're too late, and of course Charles Kane gets killed, and Maxwell Dent frames Charles Kane for it, because Carla kills him and kills another henchman, and she goes and they also set up for the alphabet crimes, because the first code was very hard, the second was easy, so they want that Charles Kane was the mastermind, so that Maxwell Dent would escape. And like I said, Axel is smart, and he finds that that's actually the last one was actually in the oil field, Dent's oil field, which was actually in a real LA. It's near an old field, and there's actually he's actually making Maxwell Dent, he's actually meeting Nick Tomopoulos, and he's selling him money, and now Foley and Taggart and Rosso, they go in the Dent's oil field, and there's a shootout scene, and they stop the bad guys. And of course, Axel becomes a hero, and he finds out the chief inspector, because they found that Lutz gets fired, and of course Andrew Bogomil becomes promoted to chief. And of course, the movie then ends when Axel tries to go home. Before Mayor Egan calls, Axel goes and calls to, he goes and calls Inspector Todd. Inspector Todd is pissed, and Axel now goes back with the car, and Robin the end shows up, and those two guys showing up, like, who are you? Who's the black guy? And Axel stops and smiles. The movie ends, with a beautiful music song. Yes, I kind of rushed it because I want to talk more about the film. So why I love this film? First off, I love his jacket. I always love this jacket. I love his jeans, his tennis shoes. I love his costume better than the first movie. I love his costume. I love his shoes. At one point, they wanted to film it in England. That Axel Foley would go out to sea, and he would be there. And he would try to solve with the inspectors. I think was I don't remember in the England, that he will go in England to try to help to solve a crime, but Eddie Murphy did not want to travel. He said, I'm gonna stay here, so they did So they actually did the film in LA. I think there's only one scene in Beverly Hills, but I think they did in LA. They actually filmed in the US in the LA. Second, many filmmakers asked Hugh Hefner if they could shoot their movies in the Play Mansion, but he rejected them. But he made exception for Beverly Hills Cop 2 because I think that Playboy owner Hugh Hefner, he actually liked the first Beverly Hills Cop, so he made exception. So they filmed in Playboy Mansion, so yeah, that was awesome. I think that Billy and Axel did work well, and I did not talk more about it, so kind of rush it. Yeah, like I said, what I love about the movie, the action sequences are actually practical done. There's no CGI. So we have a car chase scenes, and you can see by every time those three actors, they actually turn left or turn right, you see there are stunt doubles, because if the car flows over, the real actor's not gonna be injured. So that was awesome, that was really dangerous, but the actors did all the car chase scenes. I also love when Eddie Murphy and Judge Reinhold, they were both running. That was done for real, no stunt doubles. They both running, and like Judge Reinhold grabs that Magnum 44. He grabs Magnum 44, the one that Clint Eastwood was using, And I love when Axel says, "Who the hell you think you are? Clint Eastwood, Dirty Rosewood." I love that, Yeah, it was Smith & Wesson Model 29, was actually 44 Magnum Smith & Wesson Model 29, So yeah, that was actually the first time he uses the gun, And they go to the city deposit, and they like run like a badass. They go to the city deposit and says this is robbed, and this guy says, I need the override. So they both like shoots, and I said, oh, the eyes. I love that, And I love when Kara says fuck, and they try to escape with that armored car, They go and escape with the armored truck, and Axel says, bring me, find some wheels, and they go by that cement truck, and Billy steals the cement truck, and Axel, like a pure badass he is, fires in the armored truck. The armored truck, they escape. There's a car chase scene, and like Billy goes and crashes the police car, and Robin Axel said, you just crashed a police car, and says, I know the guy's a jerk, They go to the cement truck, and I love that, They actually screwed up all the cars, but I love that scene. It was practical done. Tony Scott was fantastic. He did practical done for this movie. They don't make movies like this anymore. It was practical done, no CGI, it was all practical done, And yes, Chris Rock has a little scene in it. Fuck you, Chris Rock, you sucked anyway. Even in a Little Weapon 4 you sucked. Just my opinion. But thank God he wasn't that much in the film, because I don't like this actor. Sorry. Yeah, but anyway, I think that Eddie Murphy and Josh Reinhold worked much better without John Ashton, because they were both together. They were now both together, and they found abandoned armored truck, which the lead brings them to the Playboy Mansion. I think that the both Billy Rosewood and Axel Foley work very well in this movie. Yes, they actually work very well in my opinion together. I love that scene. Just without John Ashton together, it was much better. They go to the Playboy Mansion. There's a song, Hold On. There are actually two soundtracks. One is by Corey Hart, Hold On, but actually the best one is by Kata Bill, Hold On, and he goes to Hugh's receptionist. I also wrote down, she was Susan Lentini. She was actually receptionist at the Hefs, She was Susan Lentini. She asked, and I love when Axel shows, I'm a pool runner. Who? I came to clean the pool. The pool was clean yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Now someone had an accident. Who are these two gentlemen? They're actually a hillboard, to see if I do correctly. They go to this party, and I love the Playboy Mansion scene. I like this party and all these babes. What the babes in this movie. This movie has such a great babes in this movie. Such a badass, such a babes, and I love it. And I just say, look around, you're not gonna see anymore. I love that, I love around, you're not gonna see this kind of anymore. I love that, yeah, and he's been like showed out by Hugh Hefner. I love that. The action sequences are also great. I forgot to mention the finale. In the dance Oldfield, I think it was dance Oldfield, which was actually the real Oldfield. It wasn't CGI. It was actually a real Oldfield. I wrote down. I think was La Cienega Oldfields. That was actually a real. Oldfield. Not just. It was a real Oldfield which they actually filmed. So that was awesome. It was in California. In real Oldfield they actually filmed. So they go to the Oldfield, to the dance Oldfield. And there wasn't that much stunt doubles, for Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was much better in this movie, So they all three go down there, and Billy with two shotguns. Mausberg, I think was Mausberg 500 Cruiser 12 gauge, like a pure badass with two shotguns. He goes, and I love when John Ashton grabs that shotgun, and that was Frenchy Spaz 12 gauge great shotgun. And Axel goes with his high power gun. They go down there, and Axel goes, grabs this guy, the guy right here, points the guy right here and says, do you like rap music? And the guy says, yeah. So rap with me. Why don't you smile? So rap with me. Yo baby, yo. The guy goes, yo baby, yo. Say the guy says and Billy goes and punch him. The guy falls down. I love the beautiful music score by Harold Faltermeyer. I think Harold Faltermeyer music score was much better in this movie than the first one. I love the music score much better in this movie. Just my opinion, So yeah, and I love and there's another thing, another thing I wanna say. When Axel goes, around and sees that dentist actually selling the weapons, his weapons he's selling to Nick Tomopoulos. He gets caught by a guard with a gun, and Billy tries to open the door, the window to make surprise. He puts the cow gummy that we saw earlier with a knife, but he fucked up, with that foley, he fucked up. And there's a struggle in which Axel, when we heard the alarm, Axel goes, punches the guy out, And what I want to say, Eddie Murphy did all his own stunts. There are some few dangerous stunt scenes, but the guy punches Eddie Murphy. He throws in the wall, and Eddie Murphy kicks him with the knee in the walls and punches him. Eddie Murphy really did that. What I want to say that this movie is actually better in my opinion than Steven Seagal's Mark for Death. Steven Seagal is nothing but a shame today. He's a disgrace to action movies. I mean, that time in Mark for Death, when you see actor Basil Wallace grabbing Steven Seagal, is actually stunt double who grabs him and he goes and throws him in those glasses. He throws him. That's a stunt double. You're not even allowed to hit Steven Seagal, but he can hit you. He can torture and hit stunt doubles, stunt mans. Fuck you, Seagal. Fuck you, fat ass. And Eddie Murphy, the stuntman, the actor, grabbed Eddie Murphy for real and throw him in the wall, which actually Eddie Murphy really did that. They really did that scene. Eddie Murphy went and punches the guy out. So yes, it was not a stunt double. I did not see it. The stuntman really did throw Eddie Murphy in the wall to see for real. But you're not allowed to hit Steven Seagal because that was a stunt double that was hitting in in that glasses, It was a stunt double with a fake ponytail and a fake hair, It was a stunt double. But in this movie, Eddie Murphy was alone, And I love that. And I also love that Eddie Murphy kills 3 people in this movie that I saw. And this is the first time that the character does more than like he did in the first movie. There's a shootout scene, and I love when Billy grabs that rocket launcher, pins and throws, and we see an explosion. The first movie did not have an explosion. This movie had an explosion. The truck who tried to escape get exploded, with the guns get exploded. A practical effect. And Eddie Murphy says, cover me, he runs, He also has 2 grenades. Earlier we see he grabbed 2 grenades. He goes in the truck, throws the grenade and and we see another great practical effect, explosion. The truck gets blown to pieces. And yes, thanks to Axel Murphy, Nick Tomopoulos and his men are now, they actually surrender. They surrendered. A few guys try to escape. Billy goes there and holds them, shoots up 2 guys. The other 2 escape, but they get arrested by cops. And I love when Axel, he goes alone. He goes in alone, and we see when Master Dan says, you actually, Mr. Foley, you actually went involved in something you're not. Doesn't concern to you, and like Carla goes shoots, and now one man tries to hit Axel on the roof, and Axel goes and shoots him. He shoots the bad guy, and Carla fires. Axel shoots, jumps, on the floor, and then Maxwell tries to hit Axel. Eddie Murphy grabs and shoots the guy right in the head. And he grabs the chain, and we see he goes. That was actually stunt. That stunt was very dangerous because when the car goes, Axel goes and climbs the chain, and he flips over the car. That was such a stunt, man, but that was done for real. And the car goes, flips through. The car goes, flips to the hill, falls down, and boom, explodes, and you see a fire, the car being fired in the fire. That is done for real. It wasn't CGI, it was done for real. And this is the first time that actually Axel Foley did something else. He showed the grenades in the truck. He also shoots himself. He also shoot the main villain himself. Unlike in the first movie, Lieutenant Bogomil helped him to kill the Victor Maitland. In this movie, he did himself. He did himself, just like he did in the first movie. He did himself, He had no help. And Carla shows up and says goodbye. Mr. Foley tries to shoot him with the Desert Eagle. And of course, Tiger goes and shoots her and says women, and he saves his life. So yes, I love that. And also, Axel did hustle $200 from Sidney Bernstein, but he later gave this money for the charity, for the homeless Beverly Hills, as his publicist named Sidney Bernstein, $200. He also paid those healthy pills to Billy. He gave him the money, So he was more decent in this film. I think that Axel was more decent in this film than in the first movie. He was more selfish. He only was caring about finding the murder of his friend. This movie was actually more, it wasn't personal, it was actually a heist. And the movie was a heist. It's not repeated about the first film. The first film was a drug smuggling. This is actually a heist. The movie was about a heist and about stolen weapons, And yes, Nick Tomopoulos, he was actually on the way, he actually buy the guns, and yeah, he was actually buy them, and then was actually on the way to Central America. And I love by the finale when Hugh Grant goes, "You're gonna get out of the business," and I love. Nick Tomopoulos. Nick Tomopoulos was actually sold in guns to. He was sold in guns to Maxwell Dent because Maxwell Dent had stolen money. He buy the weapons. That's actually how it was, because Billy on the end said this guy sold them. And the Maxwell Dent was actually on the way to Central America, and you check your head out of your way, you would have sold the goddamn thing. And I love that. This is for good. And I love how Billy Rose was such a badass in this film. And Major Egan says how I did not know about that, and I love when Tiger says because because Shivlas does not hit the true or real cops. That's why he had to go undercover with Detective Foley, to solve the case. And I love that said, Taggart, you fired. Oh yeah, kiss my ass, kiss mine, you fired too. I love that, and I love when Major Regan says, that's it. That's it, Harold. I'm tired with your abuse of it. And Harold says, I'm sorry. It's just my way. No, you're fired. Hey, you're gonna arrest this dad, chief mayor. You're gonna arrest it. You're gonna regret this, and you're fired too. That Peter is fired too. And I love civilians, you bad. I'm gonna kick your ass there later. I love Axel. And I love when Axel gives $200. He went and goes to. He gives $200 to Mayor Egon for the homeless of Beverly Hills. He gave $200 for charity. Love that. He could spend the money, but he gave it. He also gave the money to Billy. When he got the $20. He did not hesitate when his friend was shot. I love the action sequences. I love the songs. I love the song "Hold On," by Corey. No, actually, a Better Way by James Ingram. I love Hate Pebbles. I love Hold On, both the versions. Corey Hart and Kate Abil, I heard both of them. Shakedown by Bob Seger. Love Shakedown. Love that song. The Alphabet Crimes are A. Adriano's jewelry store in the open scene. Bogomil, Taggart, Rosen, commanding officer. That means B. He was killed. He was shot. C and D, City Deposit. And E, Imperium Fields, because they tried to find what's the E crimes gonna be for Alpha Bandit, Love the dance old field. It was such a real old field they actually filmed. No CGI, real dangerous stunts. We see when the stuntmen are like driving left and right. We see that's real stuntmen. That was dangerous. For soundtrack Shakedown, that time was actually Bob Seger was only one hit with all his career. It was actually the only number one hit, single the Billboard Hot 100. Glenn Frey, rest in peace. He was slated to record the song, but he had to pull out the last minute when he lost his voice. So I feel bad for the actor. For the singer. I feel bad for the singer when he lost his voice. He wanted to record the song for this movie, but couldn't. He previously seen the Hit Is On for the first Beverly Hills Cop, but he had to pull it over. He had to pull the last minute. So he recruited his friend Bob Seger as a replacement. He previously seen the Hit Is On. Like I said. And Tony Scott and Bridget Nielsen, they had an affair during the movie. The filming dates were 10 November 1986 till 10 March 1987. Was released in May 20, 1987, the US. Robert Pastorelli, who was also Harmful Intent. He actually played Bounty Hunter. He was also in Striking Distance with Bruce Willis. He played the killer. And he was also in Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger. The actor, he also, sadly the actor also passed away, but he also played Vinny. He played the cousin of Frank Pace from the first movie, Cigarette Buyer. Rest in peace, Robert Pastorelli. It's such a shame we lost such a good actors. Already said that the strip club was deleted. It's now demolished. Too bad. So the budget was actually $28 million, much more than the first movie. But worldwide was almost $300 million, $299 million. It was actually a world hit in 1987. Alice Adair, she played Jane Bogomil. Paul Gulfole, Paul Reiser, this movie, Gilbert R. Hill, Dean Stockwell. Jürgen Prochnow did a great job. He was good as the villain. I love him better than the first one. I love him. Jonathan Banks was better in 48 Hours. How's Your Wife? Mean as a snake. I loved him the first movie more in 48 Hours. So yes, Jordan Prachnow was great, as Maxwell Dent. Best performance by Bridget Nielsen, Skylar Fry. I love her so much in this movie. Best performance, my opinion. Best performance by Eddie Murphy. He did all his own stunts, were dangerous stunts. He's the one who also shot Maxwell Dent to the car. He did all his stunts. He was fit. He was running. He was skinny. He was his best shape in his life. They don't make movies like this anymore. Best performance by Josh Reinhold. Best performance by John Ashton. Best performance by Alicia Adair as Jen Bogomil. Best performance by Ronnie Cox as Andrew Bogomil. I wish that Andrew Bogomil could have done more, but yeah, it was rated R. It's still bloody. There's still some few blood scenes. When Andrew gets shot, we see blood scenes. So yeah, that's kind of badass. Love this movie to death. Beverly Hills Cop 2 is actually one of my personal favorite action films in my top 20. Yeah, but that's my long review on Beverly Hills Cop 2. Yeah, it's a really long review, but anyway, thanks for watching. That's my movie review on Beverly Hills Cop 2. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time in Beverly Hills Cop 3. So, peace, I'm out.